there. So this office manager position will assist with meeting the need of the EMS program. The senior IT specialist position. It was revised and it was re-rated. It was evident to the committee, the group of folks that review these, it's human resources along with representatives from the professional association. The wage was determined to be a little bit lower than what we need to be recruiting. You may be aware, some of us are, that IT positions are really difficult to recruit for, but they're also really difficult to retain. Say there's so many offers and opportunities for the IT career. So this will raise the wage group from an E to a B. It's a big jump. And we will hopefully be able to attract and retain qualified IT specialists. And Stephanie, if you have any questions. The next position is a technical specialist, persistence and completion to excellence. This actually replaces the technical specialist academic success and access programs. There is a current incumbent in the position. She'll continue to function in the title, but it will report to Colleen Johnson, Assistant Director of Student Success. The role concentrates on improving direct support to students in special populations, such as our EOP programs, athletics, probation, and pre-probation. This is a neutral financial move.
Any questions?
No.
A strategic thought presentation by Bree regarding fundraising and alumni engagement.
Yeah, we put it over it, remember? Good evening, everyone. For sure, will get us going. And then I have to share it to the roll.
Excuse me.
Thank goodness for attacking all the specialists. Aaron, screen. Good, thank you. Okay, so I am Rachel Palio. It's nice to see all of you. And I'm here with our development coordinator, Laura Olszewskis. And we're going to talk just very briefly about the alumni and development update for fiscal year 22-23. And just as a reminder, the FLCC Foundation fiscal year runs July 1 to June 30th, which is a little bit different from the college's fiscal year. And it's actually a good time frame for us to be presenting this material because we have closed our fiscal year. So our numbers are just about final. And I just want Laura to introduce herself and then she'll help me with the presentation.
Hi, everyone. My name is Laura Olszewskis. I am the development coordinator here at FLCC. I work on alumni engagement and annual giving. This is my almost 6-month anniversary. So I've only been here for 6 months. And I am a recent graduate from Cuba College. I graduated last year in May 2022.
And we're very happy to have Laura here.
Welcome. Welcome, welcome.
And also, I'll just make a quick note that there is a little like FLCC Foundation booklet in front of all of you, and that is the fabulous work of Laura. And that is just an update of an old booklet that we used to have, and it also includes a very quick listing of our foundation events for this this coming fiscal year. Not all included quite yet, but as much as we have planned, we put on paper for you guys for right So we'll go ahead and get our update. Just very quickly, I just wanted to cover our goals from last year. So last year I came in August and presented to all of you and told you that we were going to set out to do all of these things. Increase total donors, total dollars, alumni participation, and both internal and external event attendance. We had some other granular goals as well, but from a high level, these are the things we set out to do. And, you know, every year at the end of the fiscal year, and I understand this is a lot of data to look at, so I'll point out a couple of things, but I just like to include this because at the end of every fiscal year, I plug our fiscal year numbers into this model. And actually the one that I have is a 10-year model. So we're looking at and analyzing fundraising over a longer time frame than just year-over-year successes, so that we can see that, you know, things ebb and flow and fluctuate year over year. And what I'll point out to you guys on this slide is just that the last 4 years have been the highest fundraising years in FLCC history. Very proud, very excited to share that with you. We don't know if we can keep that up. And so, you know, if you look back at 2019, this was pre-COVID. This was, that was my first year here. I actually started in July of 2019. So right at the end of that fiscal year, we had experienced a much lower fundraising year. And we've had a lot of changes over that time, but I just point this out so that you can see that every 4 or 5 years, we do dip down a little bit. And then I'll just show that this fiscal year, our fiscal year revenue, $1.57 million, which was just $60,000 over the prior year, but still an increase, and we're really proud of that. And also the total donors went up, and the new donors number down sort of mid-level on the screen. That was a really exciting number to be able to report, because what that shows is that new people are being acquired to invest in this organization. And so we're hoping to continue that trajectory. I also just want to make one quick note. The alumni giving total was down. And just for reference purposes, like we did a really thorough analysis of why that was. That is the difference of 2 donors. 2 alumni donors who had donated in 22 that did not donate yet in 2023. And a lot of this is a timing thing. So we expect those 2 donors to donate again this year, but it just isn't going to be within the fiscal year 2023.
What do you attribute the significant increase, of new donors to? I mean, that's a
Yeah.
percentage wise, that's about 30% increase.
So that was entirely due to the Laker Day of Giving in May of this year. So you might all recall having been solicited by us. And I think all of you participated in that event. Santa actually did a mini campaign during the event. Several other members of the college, both internal and external, did mini campaigns during that event. And the reason for the new donors that we think, based on the analysis that we did, is we included athletics and specifically individual athletic teams for the first time in our campaign this year. And so what happened is all of the coaches set up their own little campaigns, and then they went out and fundraised for them because the money went right into their team. And so for the first time, you know, ever really, well, in my history and as far as I can see back according to data, we had coaches out saying, will you give money to the men's basketball team? Will you give money? And so they use and that's what crowdfunding is. So the Laker Day of Giving is meant to be a moment in time where people can actually go and become our fundraisers for a day. And that's what they did. And it was a slam dunk. And I say men's basketball because the coach of the men's basketball team, did a tremendous lift for his team and actually raised a good chunk of those new donors and money for his team this year.
Mhm.
Any other questions on this slide? I know it's a lot of information. Okay. Fortunately for you, we drilled down a little bit. So in addition to all of that data, we just pulled out these 4 components to look at a little bit further. We already talked a little about the alumni giving change, the new donors. I do want to point to the total revenue difference. So, just to compare apples to apples, for this year and also going forward, I took out the, realized bequest. I think most of you have been informed that we did have an estate gift, a tremendous estate gift, that we realized in 22-23, and that was a $1.73 million estate gift. That is unrestricted. We have invested that money, so we're gaining interest on it, until we spend it. And, just for the purposes of this report, I pulled that out so that you could see that even without that, we're still off a hair from 2022. And then, we talk often about the amount of dollars and donors that we raise, but this is a snapshot of the support that we provide back to FLCC with all the fundraising dollars that we generate. So, just the difference between 22 and 23 in student emergency fund support. So this is the amount of money that we actually dispersed to students. 2022, $88,315. In 2023, that went right up to $144,043. That is primarily the result of a new corporate partner that we partnered with this year who donated $100,000 specifically to a sort of unconditional student emergency fund support. And so we've made every effort to make sure that that is accessible and utilized, and we did deplete that fund.
Excuse me, was that public, that the corporate donor, public knowledge, or is that private?
No, it's public, it's ESL.
Oh.
They-
Good for them.
Yep.
Great. Wow.
And then I want to also point out the scholarship difference. So to me, again, this is just a snapshot in time. This is 1 year compared to the prior year. But what we're noticing is that scholarship disbursements are down a hair. And the emergency funds are up, right? And, two things like, we're not making a direct correlation by any means, but we do know that scholarships only pay for tuition, right? And a lot of our students don't necessarily need a lot of additional tuition support, but they do absolutely need support in every other area of their lives, right? So I just point this out. I think this number will go back up again. We've gotten some new scholarships, and I bet we'll be back around the 190 to maybe the $200,000 range. And then salaries, we have a handful of grant-funded positions that the foundation pays the college back for. And so I just pointed this difference out because I believe that was just one vacancy that was at Mueller Field Station. So I think that number again will go back up in 23, 24. Any questions on that? Okay, another just snapshot. This is showcasing the events, both internal fundraising events like Vintners and Valentines and our golf tournament, but also event space rentals for campus. So external groups that want to rent classroom space or this stage 14 space. And what we're noticing is that this number is just skyrocketing. And I mean, total events double. Now I think a lot of this is post-COVID. People want to get back together and they want to have space to do it. And so, I just point this out again to just show you that a member of our team is working diligently every day to onboard new space rental requests and make sure that they have a really positive experience because these are often people who are coming here for the first time.
Excuse me, is there revenue from those events that make their way to the foundation, or where do those dollars reside?
So, no, the revenue from events for external like space rentals goes to the college
Right.
directly.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna turn it over to Laura for this next section.
So this is our fundraising appeals performance. This is how we obtain donors. So with our Laker magazine, this happens twice a year. The next edition should be coming out shortly. We have our direct mail, which is our spring and fall appeals. We also have our crowdfunding, such as our Giving Tuesdays and our Laker Day of Giving. Our staff and faculty, I would like to point out that this is not going to be the same numbers that you have that were emailed to you. It is up actually 0.02%. So that just means that we were able to maintain all of our staff and faculty donations from the past year. We also have events, and that number dipped to below 8%. With that being said, our events are down a bit. Dinners and Valentine's might have been a reason for that, being that it had to reschedule from March to April. And then we also are realizing that events are grossing less and netting more. So they're costing us more as we put them on. Going on to our next slide. In our 2022 to 2023 alumni engagement efforts that have been completed, we have our Red Wings baseball game, which had 11 attendees, blogging sports event, 5 attendees, our engagement preferences survey, 56 responses, our Laker magazine class notes, stories, submissions, had 88 submissions throughout the two Laker magazines this year. Our wine tasting networking event had 22 attendees. I would like to also point out, seeing that I was only here for 6 months, the Red Wing, the logging sports event, and the wine tasting, I was not here for those events. But for our engagement preference survey, this is a survey we were putting out to our alumni and our recent graduates. We've had the survey for about 2 years, so we had a total of 288 submissions. This is just a survey that captures our data about our alumni to make it, and then we can inform our decisions on how we go forward with our events. So for some of that data that we've captured, 54% of our alumni are interested in in-person events. They are also interested in providing mentoring or information to current students. And they also are interested in a class reunion. 32% were interested in a class reunion. So as we look forward to the fall, so like Bree had mentioned earlier, there is a little pamphlet in the booklet provided to you that is a snapshot of all of the events that should be coming up in fall and spring. As we go forward, we have our scholarship dinner on September 14th, so next week. So I hope to see all of you attending. We have our alumni volleyball event happening September 30th. Our golf ball drop fundraiser, October 11th. We also have our alumni award ceremony that we haven't had in person since 2019. And we decided to move that from May to now October, and already had 32 submissions with nominations. We also have our Mueller Field Station open house that will be the very next day, and then our Giving Tuesdays fundraising event, November 7th, 14th, 21st, and 28th. This is a 4-part series throughout the month to capture different audiences in our fundraising.
Okay, thanks. Any questions on any of the stuff that Laura covered? 23-24, just to look ahead. So we always like to project and have goals that we're striving towards. And for our total revenue goal this year, I did a 5-year average. I think it's really important for you all to understand that we're really unsure about what to expect as far as fundraising is concerned this year. Again, we looked at the 10-year analysis of what FLCC has been able to generate over that time period, and it does look like we dip every 4 or 5 years. So I think just to be fair, and also, you know, we're down a staff person and some of these other changes that we're experiencing, our total revenue goal for this year will be 1.26 million. Now, off the record, I'm striving for $1.6 million. Don't put that in the we also want to increase our total donors back up to around 800 donors. This is a 4% increase, which seems like maybe it's not that much, but it really is. You know, every donor really takes a lot of time and effort and cultivation, but with the 4-part Giving Tuesday event, and then we have another crowdfunding event, and we have a lot of other very strategic fundraising activities that Laura's helping with. And other members of our team are helping with. We really feel like this is possible this year. So it's a lofty goal, but we think we can do it. We also want to increase alumni giving. I think this is a huge component in the new strategic plan, and we absolutely want to get a slam dunk here. And so to have 275 alumni donors, that would be a 12% increase from last year. Again, it's a lofty goal, but something that we really want to strive towards. And then we really want to increase student support. So the support that we can provide back to FLCC in the form of both student emergency funding and scholarships. Right now, we're hovering around 300,000, which we think is great, but we want to keep increasing that. So that'll be a 6% increase, and we do feel like ESL, we've already approached them, and they're open to an increase from last year in funding, and then we're working towards several new scholarships that we hope to achieve that goal. And then a longer term goal, just based on our survey results and some of the work that we've done over the past few years, is to one day offer a full-on like reunion/homecoming event on campus where we could invite the community, the alumni, staff, faculty, adjuncts, employees, all of you, obviously, and so we're not sure if fall 2024 would be too soon for that, but within the next 1 to 2 years, we would like to be able to offer that event. And that would be a joint effort with many divisions on campus, but primarily between our department and athletics. And then finally, I have just a little sneak peek from our scholarship dinner next week. We have a little thank you note from the Board of Trustees scholarship recipient from this year. So we're just gonna play it. It's like 30 seconds.
Hello.
Hello.
My name is Nora Smith. I'm a senior at Bloomfield High School, and I'll be attending FLCC in the fall to major in childhood education. Thank you so much for the opportunity of this scholarship. Your support means the world to me, and it's helping me reach my goals of going to college and becoming an elementary school teacher.
I can assure you that I'll work as hard as I can at FLCC and beyond, both academically and service to our community,
and that I intend to live out this deep gratitude I have for this scholarship. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice touch.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have any questions?
Anyone have any questions?
Just on one, just can you, in just general terms, to just kind of speak to what activities you're doing for major donor cultivation?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that is just one-on-one interactions that both Dr. and I and myself are working towards. We had a really amazing meeting today where we talked about all the efforts that we would really like to try this year, some new efforts, some, repeated efforts, but really it's one-on-one relationship building. And so, just for an example, Dr. and I met with a major donor who has donated, basically started donating out of the clear blue sky, sent us a $10,000 check 2 years ago. And was not an alum, was a community member according to our database. And when we called her and asked, well, thank you for the check, first of all, but what is this for? And how did we come to receive this? And she had taken several Spanish classes over the year, just audited, not for credit, just for her own personal gain. And so she just always remembered us as a, community partner and offered this, and then donated the same $10,000 again last year. So Dr. and I went and met them and had dinner with them at the lake house last week. So that's just one example of things that we're doing to cultivate and enrich our efforts, but also become more strategic and see what else is out there. So that will continue. We also talked today about potentially doing a campaign feasibility study. And I just mentioned that with a little asterisks, I guess, but just because we study a campaign doesn't mean we have to actually do a campaign. And Dr. Maya and I talked about this today where, we have a new strategic plan, we have a new master plan coming. We're at a pivotal point in FLCC history. And maybe it is time to look in our database and in our community and see who's out there and who's supporting us and who might support us in a more meaningful way. So we're certainly thinking about it. And if you ever have ideas, we're open for those.
Thank you.
Reed, I don't know if you mentioned it, but we talked about major donors. Did you talk about, what would you like to talk about the Miller Foundation and what potentially when you're talking about what Trustee Cushman was talking about the major donors?
Yeah. Yeah, so just a quick note, I know you were all out at Mueller Field Station last month. It was awesome to be there with you all. We have been cultivating a donor for the Mueller Field Station for the last 4 years since I've been here, probably more years than that. But I've been working, with that, foundation on a more of like a legacy gift. So they have supported the foundation, the Mueller Field Station with operational costs over the last, I don't know, 10, 12 years. And so what we've talked about is a potential site expansion at Mueller Field Station. And so we have approached both of the Emil and Florence Mueller foundations, two foundations that support that facility. And we are, on October 2nd, we're actually presenting a potential site expansion with an ask around, can I say the amount? Around $2 to $2.5 million for a what we're calling a bunkhouse. It's really a very nice overnight accommodations that will be expanded onto the current lodge there. And so what we've identified is that our classes and our students really need to have overnight accessibility to that place. You know, doing research, they do several classes that are taught there. And so, in addition to the overnight accommodations, which would be a 2-floor, 24-bed lodge that would be built alongside the current chalet. We would also have to expand parking and do some site, work in order to accommodate up to 24 new people being on site. So we're really excited about that, fingers crossed. And we have some other things in the pipeline too, but that's our big one for this year, hoping for.
Just another one that's out there that Bree was involved in working on, and it's in public records, we say it, but it's not guaranteed yet. And Bree was involved in this, was Senator Schumer, helping to secure $1 million to support our greenhouse. And it's passed the Senate Agricultural Subcommittee on public record, but it has to go through the full Ways and Means Committee in October, and then he'll come and celebrate. So that's another big effort that Bree was involved in this past year as well.
Excellent. Thank you.
I just had a couple on the follow-up actually to George, but first of all, thanks for the presentation. That was terrific to give us that update. My question is around Micron. As Micron was making its splash and entrance into the greater Syracuse Finger Lakes market, there was a very strong mention about their legacy giving to higher education and secondary institutions. I'm wondering if we've made any connection through the committee folks that represent us here to Micron to actually consider a scholarship that might be in our fold, or maybe they already do one.
They do not presently do a scholarship. I'm well aware of that, but I don't know if there's been any mention yet of us potentially meeting with them and beginning those conversations. I absolutely think that's a great idea.
So a list somebody shared with me that Penny sent around from, I think it was Deborah, in terms of the higher education institutions. And it's a good list, but there's a lot of institutions that are not there. So, but we are. So I think it would be worth an ask, in fact, to kind of live their own corporate vision. So, and my second one was around planned giving. I'm wondering if you are aware of any individuals that may have already shared with you upon passing, or maybe their estate might share some of their philanthropy with you when in fact they do pass, understanding it's confidential, and it may be able to aggregate that in any way where someone may say, you know, I'll leave you $250,000 of my $1 million life insurance policy as an example. So any of those kind of bequests or estate or planned giving, is that something that's maybe in a separate category that you know might be coming someday down the road?
Yes, yeah, so we absolutely do have, we have what we consider an LOI, which is a letter of intent.
Sure.
Right, so it's really hard to count those. When you're in a capital campaign or a comprehensive campaign, you would always count at least a percentage of what their estate gift might be in future years. And it's a great projection tool to be able to see things like this realized with us that we realized this year. So right now, I mean, I couldn't give you a total right off the top of my head, but we do have a handful of LOIs that we're aware of. And we're always offering that as an option to people. So, you know, I think, I always talk about 3-part giving, you know, giving now, giving later and giving time or talent. So, so we offer it. I think we have a checkbox on every, direct mail piece that we offer. It's in the magazine. But we're always open to new efforts as well. And certainly if we ever started a campaign and actually went forward with that, that would be one of the first things that we would do is go out and meet with anybody who has an LOI on file and make sure and confirm that that's still active and that, and get a better sense of what the amount might be.
So understanding that the letters of intent are typically non-binding, I'm wondering if in fact, we have an endowment. Do we have an endowment? We do. So restricted and unrestricted.
That's right.
Right. So again, maybe there's an opportunity to get in front of the estate and trust attorneys in Ontario, Wayne, Seneca, Yates County. And those are the folks that typically advise clients. They don't necessarily say give to this institution, but they might say, if higher education's in your, of your interest, here's a list of a couple choices. They kind of get on that list, even the Monroe County Bar, which is extremely robust. So as opposed to individual institutions that might do that investment, trust or estate planning, the bars are typically the place in which we should have an opportunity to get in front of, at least as an idea, if you will. And plant the seed that we do have restricted and unrestricted, because that legacy giving, especially in a restricted way, has this perpetual feel and really has a lot of interest for people kind of beyond their years on earth, if you will. So just curious, but it sounds like you're already doing some good work there. Great. Thanks again.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you. Is it, our next meeting is Wednesday, October 4th, right here, unless noted otherwise. And have a motion to adjourn? So moved. Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. And all in favor? Aye. All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, trustee Abraham. Trustee Martin, finance.
Thank you, Chair Cass. Appreciate that. Call to order the September 6, 2023 Finance and Facilities Committee meeting. And first order of business is our August 2nd, 2023 committee minutes. Thank you again, Penny, for crafting and delivering those minutes to us. Changes, comments, questions? Perfect, once again, okay. The operating budget, and there he is. Jason, welcome.
Is it?
I think you guys have the operating budget, in your packet. You know, still projecting, you know, probably closer to a break even or use of fund balance, or no use of fund balance, but we still have audit adjustments, year-end adjustments that we still need to factor in. But as of July, we're still trending in the right direction. But I do want to make you aware that, you know, we had been projecting a 300 to 500 use of fund balance before the stimulus funds. So I kind of feel like we're getting closer to maybe even a no use to a positive outlook. So, but I preface that with still cleaning up year-end accruals and that needs to come through before we can finalize those numbers, which I'll have a better overview in October as we come together here. So,
Questions about this year's operating budget? I just have a question about the trailing. So fiscal year ends August 30th.
August 31st. Yep.
31st, excuse me, of course. And then by mid-October, have a pretty clear picture.
Yeah,
1st of November.
We're currently, we have some payments that come out here in the beginning of September. We'll look at, do we need to accrue those back into the prior fiscal year? Clean up of some revenue that get deferred into the next fiscal year. And just our year-end bad debt reserves, any other reserves that may need to be set up. So by October, looking to have a pretty solid understanding. We're looking at the audit to come in sometime in November, to perform, Geo to come in and perform the year-end audit.
Okay.
So any potential audit adjustments, will also have an impact on where we kind of fall out from an operating perspective. So,
And how about receivables? Any significant or worrisome receivables out there between now and let's say the 1st of November that may not make their way in?
not that I'm aware of. I mean,
Okay.
we'll still be tracking down student receivables.
Right.
But, you know, as of year end, our student receivable balance is always kind of elevated because of the fall tuition starting. So, you know, but that we have to look at from what's the collectability on that tuition, so.
And just the reverse, on the payable side, we're current on the payable side.
Yeah, current on the payable side.
Okay. Other questions, final questions? Anything else you might offer on the budget?
No, I think just, you know, an update will come as we get closer to October as far as we're finalizing this year. So, there it is on the screen.
There it is on the screen. Everyone's nodding their head. Okay, Jason, thank you very much. We'll have you back in a little bit.
I'm gonna turn this over to Ed now, so
All right.
there's all the resolutions.
Thank you for that. That's right. Good evening, everyone. I have 5 resolutions on the agenda this evening. I will just go through them in the same order they're in your packet.
Sure.
Looking to reauthorize Pirelli to help us with what's called our core system administration services. If you've read through the packet, to summarize, they essentially help maintain our servers, database, and all the colleague software patches, updates, and adjustments. They monitor our system 24/7. They take action if anything unusual is going on. They help us with system tuning, integration, quarterly security audits, and they have a few hours every month to allow us some Q&A time with them. I'm actually going to use them a little differently than we have in the past and engage a group of ours, almost call them super users, but our end users that administer and use the system most to help them understand all the patches that are coming out, the software updates, so we have a better handle on those activities. So when Aleutian gives us something new, we'll have a better communication path for that.
So a heads up of maybe 30, 60 days and what's coming.
Yeah. Aleutian puts out major updates 4 times a year, and they have minor updates all the time. I mean, so every Sunday, this group currently does patch updates for us.
Oh, really?
And goes through, and then they do it in our test environment first. They run a report to see if there's any conflicts with any of our unique code. They give it to our team, and then 2 or 3 weeks later, unless there's an issue, we publish it out in production. But I'd like to improve our interactions with all the new enhancements, because there's a lot that comes out every few months. Okay,
Keep going.
keep going?
Yep.
All right. The next is also with Pirelli. It's a smaller $15,000 emergency contract for programming. Occasionally things come up that we just don't have the staff and time to accomplish. I can give you one real world example that happened last week when our main developer was on vacation. My HR partner needed a quick report, and so I was able to call Pirelli and say, come on, help us out with this. And they got it done in a couple of days, and we turned it around. So hopefully it doesn't happen often. If we don't use it, we don't pay for it. But when we need it, it's nice to have a little security blanket for that kind of thing.
Questions of the first 2 resolutions? Okay, you're on a roll.
Thank you. The next one is advisory services with Aleutian. As you know, we've had some turnover at Finger Lakes over the last few years. We have a lot of new folks in the areas of HR, payroll, and even some in finance. And what I'm doing here with my partner, Jason and Kim, is to bring in a small team from Aleutian to help assess what we're doing today, looking at all our protocols in those areas, recommending improvements or streamlining or best practice to make our system work more efficiently, then helping us it's not really reprogram, but reconfigure, because a lot of Aleutian is set up configurations, reconfigure it, and then write materials and documentation to help us use it and learn it over the next 12 months. I think that's gonna really increase our productivity and usage of the system and cut down on issues that we have trying to use it and use it effectively, because we have so many new folks. I mean, I don't think anyone really knows what the best, absolute perfect way is to use the system today, because no one was here a year ago, 2 years ago. And we're guaranteed they have to write documentation of this, so anyone new that comes in, we have those materials in.
George?
No questions. It seems like a very prudent thing to do. It's surprised there was no documentation.
Great.
Well, there is, I'm not gonna say there's no documentation, but I think we need to be more consistent in the way we do it and store it in a more central location, which I set up and I've worked with the teams on.
Corrected. Thank you.
I think the other thing you face too is, there's times, and I think with Pirelli and the core administrative services that are being offered too, right? A patch comes through, we don't have the full impact of what that does. How does that change maybe past practice or customizations that may be built into the system because we were smarter than the system 10 years ago and we needed it a certain way, but Evolution has fixed that and with a patch, but we continue to do it in the old way. So there may be more efficient ways out there to use the system.
Questions or comments on this resolution? I just had one. Do you envision the team from Evolution being here a definitive period of time or working over that 12-month period that you spoke about?
No, they're gonna be remote. They won't physically come on
Oh,
site.
I'm sorry, that's what I
But
meant.
yeah, no, they'll be a set number of hours and meetings up front to do the assessment.
Right.
And then we'll probably schedule out whatever is consistent for our teams and theirs over the next, 8 to 10 months. After
Okay,
that.
great.
That's the one nice thing about this one, is they're gonna stay with us after it's all changed to make sure that we're helping to be consistent and really get to, to know the best practice.
All right.
The next one is another Evolution. It's 45, technically it'll be 43 based on the Evolution contract, but no, not to exceed $45,000 to help us with some compliance and adjustments needed by SUNY. Deborah Ortloff was able to get us a $45,000 grant from SUNY to help us. Thank you. And
So
this is.
net zero.
Yeah, so they're gonna be helping us with moving our system to support what's called micro credentials. I think we've had some conversations with that in the past, but that touches almost everything. Reporting, transcripts, the way we input information about degree programs. And so it's a substantial effort to modify that. We've already gotten underway doing it, and this will just help to make sure we get it done well with the consultants we have.
Marvelous.
And last but not least, you're making this very easy for me, thank you. About 6 months ago, I was looking at doing an RFP to bring in some security services for us to help augment what we do and do 24/7 monitoring, which is a challenge with the staffing we would have, right? So at that moment, before doing it, I talked to the SUNY Vice Chancellor for IT, I talked to the SUNY security manager, and they asked me to wait because they're bringing in a company called CrowdStrike, which is also aligned with the state of New York. CrowdStrike, great product, but it wasn't going to cover everything we wanted to cover. So I worked with my team, we reviewed multiple vendors, and this is to bring in Arctic Wolf to do more proactive monitoring for us to basically facilitate like rounding out our security endeavors. So I can go into a little descriptions if you want, or just.
Okay, just a couple examples of what they're adding to.
So I'll give you an example. CrowdStrike is a managed detection and response. So they're going to sit on like a souped up antivirus. They'll sit on our desktops and equipment around the college. And if they see certain activities occurring, they can stop it, block it, notify. Whereas Arctic Wolf is more proactive. They will detect known software vulnerabilities. They'll be scanning our network routinely. They'll be looking at all our servers and cloud and environments and providing snapshots to make sure that we're meeting compliance. If they see a configuration that's bad, they can actually proactively tell you that configuration is not safe. And so one is a little more reactive and one's proactive. And so the proactive is Arctic Wolf. So we need both. And I honestly, in another year or two, SUNY's going to not continue to pay for CrowdStrike. It's like a pilot, as I understand it. And if they're doing a great job, maybe we'll stick with them, to be honest, and maybe we'll go off for RFP at that time. But I feel like we need a more rounded security approach.
Thank you. Rich?
Ontario County uses Arctic Wolf.
Oh.
We don't, the laymen have no idea what goes on behind the curtain, but we get regular presentations and quizzes
Yeah.
that we have to log into, and it's quite interesting. So if anybody wants to see what they look like, I've got the latest one up on my email, so.
That's, I'm
It's a
glad to
good
hear.
product, Sean. Barry loves the product, and he makes everybody take the quiz.
And everyone here will be doing that too soon. We actually used something called Go before that's similar. But Arctic Wolf has quite a few capabilities. But again, we're living with SUNY and what they've asked us to do. We're gonna go that route for a while, and I just want to make sure we have a well-rounded security plan.
Other questions on this resolution? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ed. Really appreciate it. We'll wrap up the abbreviated agenda today with some resolution. Informational, excuse me,
Well,
information.
I think I threw one extra resolution in there, the bid renewal
right.
of fire maintenance
Touche.
services on walls containing asbestos. So this is just a contract that it's a renewal for another year. It's one of the second year of renewals that we have, the one of two. So we knocked down a wall, knocked down a wall. We have a contract with this company to help us mitigate any asbestos.
Questions on this one? All right, now informational.
Informational items, this is just renewals and acceptance of certain bids for our HVAC units, trash and recyclables, and then the lease renewal of the office space between SUNY and FLCC North Campus. So we have a SUNY representative that sits in our North Campus, and we rent that space to them.
Anything final you want to offer? Final questions, Jason? Okay, hearing none. Thank you very much. 5:39 PM,
Wow.
motion to adjourn. As embraced by George, a second by Jeff, all in favor? Aye. Back to you, Chairman.
Thank you, trustee Martin. Well, we're gonna continue on so people can get home at a reasonable hour tonight. I'd like to call the Board of Trustees meeting to order. Ask if there's any community or public comment. Doesn't look like there's any.
Oh, wait a minute, let me look. No, only.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm gonna need a motion to approve the consent agenda for the board meeting minutes and the resolutions that are in there.
I'll move it.
And second,
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Old business. No old business, new business.
New school year.
Yeah. Okay, I have nothing to report. President Knapp.
Well, in the spirit of being brief, as this meeting is this time, I'll be brief too. I just wanted to highlight from my report, first off, you, trustee Martin, you already mentioned the start of the school year, and I'd like to thank all the faculty and staff. People are behind me here. The opening days was a phenomenal opening days. It takes a lot of work. Sim Covington was the stray cat herder for much of it. Laura Ortiz was bringing her touch to it in terms of being the new provost and establishing some of the things so we get started in the future. We experimented with our new condensed opening days down to 3 days in the fall. And it went very well. We could always use the days back that we talked about on the contract negotiations in the future, but based on how everything went, it went very well. And it's because of folks here behind me, and everything that got accomplished. And I didn't mention the strategic planning efforts, since she's smiling at me over there, Deborah Orloff, in terms of how that was included, but it really was a team effort. It was probably the most enjoyable opening days I've been involved with in a number of years. And I was, the only time I've ever been more excited for the start of the new school year was in 2016. When that started. So it was a really great start. So from the success of enrollments being up to all the efforts to getting started, to the activities you see that Sarah Whitman was talking about in terms of student success. And then what Bree talked about how we have funds for students and how they can help them when they're getting through. It was a really great start to the year. So I just wanted to publicly thank everyone.
Dr. Knight, can I
Yes, sir.
just add that I was there for the strategic presentation by the staff, and I just want to say it was just incredible. The way it was orchestrated, the way it was, they got so many people involved, live and on camera. Just want to commend the staff for what they did there. It was outstanding.
Thank you, team, everybody, a lot of people.
I would add to that. In fact, if that video could somehow be shared, which was done in-house, it
That
was
was
exquisite, with humor, but some seriousness as well, and certainly the intent. And my other observation is that folks weren't on their phones. They were not distracted, sat in the back and watched. People were very engaged and attentive, especially during the strategic presentation in your remarks. And it was impressive to see amongst the faculty and staff and others. And there seemed to be a bit of an energy in the room, and there may have been other trustees there as well, but it was, I agree, George, it was very impressive, and you could feel the really salient vibe, if you will. So well done.
Just very briefly, the strategic plan will be getting the committee started again in terms of the group that will be reviewing the recommendations for both strategic grant plans and for the stimulus funds that have been, we've discussed with you in the past. That'll be getting started this month and getting ready for when we generally hope to have the information out for them to get started after we've worked with you again on what the parameters are that we discussed to get them really strengthened and formulated for you all and kick off with those in November timeframe. And shortly before that, we are planning on a strategic plan kickoff on October 27th. So I'd ask that you put that on your calendar. It'll be similar to what you saw 5 years ago at that kickoff. And hopefully we'll try to engage even more community members this time for that kickoff. We're working on $1 million of SUNY transformation funds that have been addressed. Over half that, about 60% is going into student success activities and into an activity similar to the PACE plan that Sarah Whitman talked about, which is adding more academic support, personnel support to focus on a specific group of students to help them succeed. The other 40% are going into workforce development for virtual reality or augmented reality welding equipment, and then also for various efficiencies to help the college. And we're still waiting for final approval from that, but I'm excited for those funds. I think this could potentially be, last year we get those kind of funds unless something changes with the state economy. They're going to be going into deficits here pretty soon, if not this year, next year. Community engagement, we're really trying to work with some of our school districts to get various programs going in further detail than we have in the past, specifically early college scholars. There are high schools that really want that for their students who have very little to do as seniors during part of the day, up to like 4 hours. So how do you get them engaged? And we're interested in that in the early college scholars program, which would be, a Gemini program, but you come here or you go to the Geneva campus and have your classes there. And also workforce programs. Our same workforce programs that we have now, we could put into those high schools and have them getting a skill set before they graduate, before they go out. It's a long slog. It takes time to do, but we won't give up yet. But we do have 2 school districts that are interested in doing that. When I say it's a long haul and slog, one of the things that I've been trying to press forward with employers is if you really want to get employees, create a partnership with a college that means you have to invest in the students, pay for their tuition and stipend and so forth. And so that's beginning to start with a couple of companies. Thompson Health for nursing and interested in paying the second year of the students' tuition for up to 10 students if they'll come to work for Thompson Health. Lincoln Hill's looking to do one or something. And so I look at that as you get a little bit going somewhere and you get the momentum going, then you can get more going. And so we have a session coming up with a couple of companies in the near future. I want to be in Acoustis again to work that same kind of thing. Acoustis is like a Micron right here in our town, except they are not quite ready for the same level of creating their chips as the Microns are based on the congressional standards. So.
And the LISC relationship continues, GW LISC Force and the Clifton Springs in a kind of a robust way. Is that still pretty steady?
No, it's not as steady. That program, we still have a relationship with LISC. They still donate to the college.
Right.
But that program that we had for that advanced workforce manufacturing, they decided to do their own in-house.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And really, it was already in-house.
Okay.
Before, and their focus was on the students. We took credit for it, but it's really an in-house production by them.
Okay.
To do, and they decided to go in-house to do that, which is fine. We're getting different types of clientele through the grid program and the hybrid program we have for advanced manufacturing. It's pretty cool when you have people take it from different locations. So, you know, at a high school, at a library, at a workforce development center versus solely at LISC to get something accomplished. LISC wanted something very specific. And I think we're getting to the point where all sorts of companies are not going to be able to get the skill sets they had in the past and to go through the types of training programs they had in the past. They're going to have to take folks with different skill sets or some of the skill sets to accomplish what they want. And so I'll give you an example other than the advanced manufacturing, which is a hybrid program now versus you would have thought you had to do everything on the machines, use the presses, use the drill presses, use the CNC machines, actually do it. Well, maybe you don't anymore. And that goes to welding. You don't have to actually have all that facilities for a welding program to provide basic skills in welding, in various types of welding activities. And you can do it with portable sets versus having to spend several $1 million to get a location, have it ventilated properly, and have the real welding machines set up in the different ways that are there. So we have to think really imaginatively and adaptively and innovatively about how we're going to provide workforce development in the future to get folks what they need. And more that they need folks, the more they're going to say, I'll take a virtual welder experience versus I had to have all these different skill sets with the national certification before I hire them. Then finally, I just wanted to highlight or just address the Donna. Hey. Oh, Donna, sorry, I didn't see.
I have two questions, follow up to your comments. How many school districts are in our service areas and how many grid sites do we currently have?
Oh, goodness. We have 5 grid sites.
5.
There are 10 school districts in Ontario County. I'd have to get you the answer. And I don't know if anybody in the back behind me knows the answer on the other school districts.
25 school districts.
I think it's 25. That's my instinct as well. It's 25.
But that's a lot.
And well spread out. And speaking about trying to find innovation and do things and employers wanting different types of employees, we've been working, I'm thankful for Bree and the workforce development folks with a diesel mechanic company to provide diesel mechanic training. And they're interested in providing 2 spaces at a facility for us. And right now about $250,000 thus far is an idea of helping you get a program started for basic diesel mechanic activities. So things are really changing in different ways and ways people are looking for ideas to do things. We just have to keep up and be imaginative.
Do we offer here any of the technicians who are trained in hybrids or electric cars? Is that something that's done here at this campus? No, it's not.
Not yet.
I've heard from at least 2 dealers, Monroe County, on the edge that are in dire need. They can't find the technicians when it comes to those particular specific needs of those automobiles, either hybrid and or E. So just wondered if that might be an opportunity for us to.
It is considered a high demand.
It is high demand. Didn't know if there's an opportunity there or not. Might be. Okay.
think there is, at least that we have to be looking into. And that surmises my report.
Any questions? Okay, let's go through the committee liaison reports. Trustee F. Audit and ERM.
Yeah, just that we're scheduling a kickoff meeting with the auditor later this month. I forget the exact date,
September 28th.
28th. So that'll start that process and hopefully it'll start and go through more timely this year.
Board development.
Apologize, I have nothing. Santa may have something.
Okay. I get the association, we haven't met yet. NYCCT.
But George has been to more meetings recently than I have. But there's a board meeting tomorrow, so I'll have to report on.
Student Corp.
Meetings this month.
Okay,
Soon to come.
that's it. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So
Second, all in favor? Thank you.
I think that's a record.
Yeah.
Good, good.
Still got a 5 in front of 5.
Yeah.